The traitor was someone she hugged every morning. Someone who brought her coffee with exactly 3 sugars, who laughed at her jokes, who asked about her sister in Lagos and remembered her name. Someone who sat 2 desks away and smiled like sunshine while quietly feeding every detail of her life to the man who wanted her destroyed. But Kemi didn't know that yet. She was too busy being happy, and happiness, when you've been surviving your whole life, feels like a drug you don't want to come down from. If you didn't watch part 1 of this story, pause right now, go watch it, then come back. And if you're returning from part 1, welcome back. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up because this part is darker, more emotional, and the betrayal that's coming will leave you speechless. Let's go. 3 months had passed since Park Jae-sun dismantled Yoon Tae-young's empire in a single evening. 3 months since he knelt on the floor of Kemi's tiny apartment and told her he loved her. 3 months of stolen dinners in his penthouse, of late nights in his office where translation work turned into conversations that lasted until 2 in the morning, of his hand finding the small of her back when they walked through hallways, brief and burning, gone before anyone could see. They were careful. At least, they thought they were. Kemi still lived in her apartment because she had told him 6 months and she meant it. But Jae-sun showed up there so often that Tekbaki the cat had started sleeping on his jacket when he draped it over the chair, and she told him the cat was claiming territory and he said he understood the instinct. He was different with her. The man the world saw, the cold, calculated, untouchable king of Seoul's underworld, that man dissolved the moment her apartment door closed behind him. With her, he laughed. He argued about Nollywood movies. He tried to cook jollof rice from a YouTube tutorial and nearly set her kitchen on fire, and she laughed so hard she cried, and he stood there with burnt rice stuck to his 60,001 shirt looking at her like she was the most important thing he had ever seen. "You're hopeless," she told him, scraping charred rice from the pot. "I'm learning." "You're burning." "Same thing." She threw a towel at him. He caught it and pulled her toward him by the wrist and kissed her in that slow, devastating way he had perfected, the way that made her forget they were standing in a smoke-filled kitchen in a tiny apartment in a city that had tried its best to break her. But outside that apartment, the world was sharpening its teeth. Yoon Tae-young had not disappeared. Disgraced men with nothing left to lose don't disappear. They dig in. They wait. They plan. And Tae-young had been planning with the patience of a man who had already decided how this story would end. The text message he had received 3 months ago, the one that said, "All I need is your word that the girl suffers first," had come from inside Haejin Group. From someone in Jae-sun's inner circle. From someone close enough to know schedules, security rotations, access codes, and the one thing that would bring Park Jae-sun to his knees. Her name was Moon Ji-yeon, and she was Kemi's closest friend at Haejin Group. Ji-yeon was 28, bright-eyed, sweet-faced, with a laugh that made everyone around her smile. She had been Kemi's welcome committee on her first day, showing her where the good coffee was, warning her about which elevator was slow, telling her which executives were harmless and which ones stared too long. She was the kind of person who remembered birthdays and brought homemade kimbap to share and always asked, "Are you okay?" like she actually wanted to know. Kemi trusted her completely. That was the point. Ji-yeon had been planted inside Haejin Group 2 years before Kemi arrived. Not by Tae-young, not originally. She was placed by a man named Cho Sung-min, a mid-level operative who had worked for both Tae-young and Jae-sun at various points and whose loyalty belonged to whoever paid the most. When Tae-young fell, Sung-min saw an opportunity. He reached out to the old man with a proposition. He had someone on the inside, someone invisible, someone trusted. All Tae-young had to do was say the word. The word was, done. And Ji-yeon, sweet smiling Ji-yeon who brought Kemi coffee every morning, began to work. She started small. Photographs of Kemi arriving and leaving the building. Screenshots of her schedule. Notes about which meetings she attended, how long she stayed in Jae-sun's office, whether they left together. Breadcrumbs of information that, alone, meant nothing, but together built a map of every vulnerability Kemi and Jae-sun had. But Ji-yeon needed more. Tae-young wanted something explosive, something that would not just hurt Jae-sun but humiliate him, strip him of the respect he had earned, make the other families question his judgment. And for that, she needed Kemi to trust her with something dangerous. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Kemi and Ji-yeon were eating lunch in the break room, and Kemi was quieter than usual. "What's wrong?" Ji-yeon asked, tilting her head with that warm, concerned expression that Kemi had come to rely on. "Nothing. Liar. You've been stirring that soup for 5 minutes. It's already mixed." Kemi looked at her, and Ji-yeon saw the moment the walls came down. It was almost too easy. "Can I tell you something? And you have to promise, Ji-yeon. Promise me it stays between us." "Of course. Always." Kemi set down her spoon. "Jae-sun and I are together." Ji-yeon's eyes widened perfectly. The right amount of surprise, the right amount of excitement, the right amount of, "I knew it." She had practiced this reaction in her bathroom mirror. "Oh my God. Kemi. How long?" 3 months. Since the gala. I knew something was different. The way he looks at you in meetings, I thought I was imagining it, but nobody can know. Especially not now, with everything that happened with the Yoon family. If the other families find out he's involved with me, with a foreigner, with someone outside the world, they'll see it as weakness. I won't say a word. I promise." She hugged Kemi. She held her tight and rubbed her back and told her she deserved happiness. And that night, she typed everything into a message and sent it to a number with no name. The information traveled fast. From Ji-yeon to Sungmin to Taeyoung to a room full of people who now had exactly what they needed. 2 weeks later, the first strike came. It was subtle. A financial audit of Haejin Group, initiated by a government prosecutor who had been in Taeyoung's pocket for 15 years. The audit itself was routine on paper, but its timing was surgical. It forced Jae-sun to open books he preferred to keep closed, to explain transactions that existed in the gray space between legal and not. Shin called an emergency meeting. Someone tipped them off. The audit targets our shipping division specifically, the same division Taeyoung used to run. Whoever fed them the information knew exactly where to point. Jae-sun sat at the head of the table, perfectly still. "Who has access to the shipping records?" Shin pulled up a list. 12 names. Jae-sun scanned them, and his eyes stopped on one. Moon Ji-yeon. Administrative Coordinator. Access level, mid-tier. Clearance to shipping schedules but not financial records. He moved past the name. Ji-yeon was harmless. Ji-yeon was Kemi's friend. Ji-yeon brought kimbap to the office and cried during company dinners when people gave speeches. He moved past the name, and it was the most expensive mistake of his life. The second strike came 1 week later, and it was aimed directly at Kemi. She was teaching her Saturday morning English class, 6 Korean university students who adored her, when her phone buzzed with a notification from an anonymous social media account. Someone had posted photographs of her. Not the surveillance photos from before. These were intimate. Screenshots of text messages between her and Jae-sun. A photo of them in his car, his hand on her thigh, taken through a window she didn't know was being watched. A photo of her leaving his penthouse at 1 a.m, wearing his shirt over her dress because she had been cold and he had draped it over her shoulders in the parking garage. The caption read, "The foreign woman warming the bed of Seoul's most dangerous man. Is this who controls Haejin Group now?" The post went viral in the underworld within hours. It spread through encrypted channels, private groups, whispered networks. By that evening, every family in Seoul's shadow world had seen it. Kemi found out when one of her English students showed her the post with trembling hands and asked, "Teacher, is this you?" She canceled the class. She went to the bathroom and locked the door and pressed her back against the wall and slid to the floor. Her hands were shaking. Her vision was blurring. The photos were everywhere. Her private life, her body, her relationship, splashed across screens for strangers to dissect and judge and weaponize. She called Jae-sun. He answered on the first ring. "I know," he said. His voice was ice. "I already know." Where are you? The language school. Don't move. Daeho is 7 minutes away. Jae-sun, they have photos of us. They have our messages. How did they? I'm going to find out. And whoever did this will answer for it. That's not what I need right now. What do you need? Her voice broke. Just barely, just at the edges, but he heard it, and the sound of Kemi breaking, even slightly, made something inside him go dark. I need you to tell me this is going to be okay. Silence. Then, softly, it's going to be okay. I promise you. I will fix this. You can't promise that. Watch me. Daeho arrived in 6 minutes. He drove her to the penthouse, and Jae-sun was waiting at the door, and the second she was inside, he pulled her into his arms and held her while she cried. Not the quiet, dignified tears she usually allowed herself. These were Lagos tears, loud, ugly, furious, the kind of crying that comes from a woman who has fought every day of her life to build something and watched someone try to tear it down with a screenshot. He held her through all of it. He didn't tell her to stop. He didn't try to fix it with words. He just held her and let her rage, and when she was done, when she pulled back with swollen eyes and a set jaw, he saw that she hadn't broken at all. She had just been loading. I want to know who did this, she said. So do I. No. I want to know first. Before you do anything. Before your people handle it. I want to look them in the face. He studied her. Why? Because I need to know if it was someone I trusted. Something flickered in his eyes. She saw it. He saw her see it. You already suspect someone, she said. I suspect everyone. It's how I've survived. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. If you're feeling this story right now, drop a comment and tell me who you think the traitor is. And if you haven't hit that like button yet, now's the time. This story is about to take a turn that will shatter you. Jae-sun launched an internal investigation so quiet that even Shin didn't know its full scope. He brought in a man named Kwon Hyuk, a former intelligence operative who now worked exclusively for Haejin Group on matters that required someone who could find a needle in a burning haystack. Hyuk was terrifying. Not in the way Jae-sun was terrifying, all controlled power and magnetic intensity. Hyuk was terrifying in the way that silence is terrifying. He spoke rarely, smiled never, and could trace a deleted text message through 4 encrypted servers in under an hour. It took him 9 days. 9 days to trace the leaked photos to a burner phone. 9 days to trace the burner phone to a purchase made with cash at a convenience store in Mapogu. 9 days to pull the security footage from that store and find a face. Moon Ji-yeon. Buying a burner phone at 11:30 at night, wearing a baseball cap pulled low, but not low enough. Hyuk placed the footage on Jae-sun's desk without a word. Jae-sun watched it 3 times. His face showed nothing. His hands, gripping the edge of his desk until his knuckles turned white, showed everything. Does Kemi know? He asked. No. Keep it that way. For now. He didn't tell Kemi because he knew what it would do to her. Betrayal from an enemy is expected. Betrayal from a friend is a wound that changes the shape of your heart. He wanted to handle it first, contain the damage, remove the threat. He wanted to protect her from the knowledge that the woman she hugged every morning had been selling her secrets. But Kemi found out anyway, because Kemi always found out. She was too smart, too observant, too stubbornly perceptive to be kept in the dark. She noticed Ji-yeon's phone on her desk during lunch, and she noticed it was open to a messaging app she didn't recognize, and she noticed the name at the top of the conversation, Cho S. She didn't touch the phone. She didn't need to. The most recent message was visible on the screen. The penthouse photos worked. Phase 3 begins Friday. Get the girl alone. Get the girl alone. The girl was her. Kemi's vision tunneled. The break room sounds faded to nothing. She stood up, and Ji-yeon looked at her with that sweet, warm smile. You okay? Kemi looked at her, at this woman she had trusted, confided in, cried in front of, and she felt something she had never felt before. Not anger. Not sadness. Betrayal so deep it felt physical, like a hand reaching into her chest and twisting. "I'm fine," Kemi said. Her voice was steady. Lego steady. The kind of steady that comes right before a storm. She walked straight to Jae-sun's office. She didn't knock. She opened the door and closed it behind her, and the look on her face told him everything. "You already knew," she said. Not a question. "Kemi. How long?" 3 days. 3 days you knew my friend was a spy and you didn't tell me. I was trying to protect you. From what? The truth? I don't need protection from the truth, Jae-sun. I need a partner who trusts me enough to tell me when someone I love is trying to destroy me. The word partner landed between them, heavy and significant. She had never called him that before. He heard it. He held on to it. "You're right," he said. "I should have told you." "Yes. You should have. I was afraid of what it would do to you." "That's not your decision to make." He stood and walked around his desk and stood in front of her. He didn't touch her. He wanted to. His hands were at his sides, and she could see the effort it took him not to reach for her. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "I want to talk to her." "That's dangerous." "I don't care. If she knows we're onto her, she'll alert whoever she's working with. We lose our advantage." "I don't care about your advantage. I care about looking her in the eye and asking her why." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "I'll be in the room." "No. Kemi. I'll be in the room, and you'll be watching from wherever you watch things, because I know you have cameras in every room in this building. But when I talk to her, I talk to her alone. She won't be honest with you there. She'll be afraid. I don't want her afraid. I want her exposed." He looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. It was somewhere between admiration and fear. "When did you become more terrifying than me?" he asked. "The day someone I trusted tried to destroy me." They set it up for the following morning. Kemi asked Ji-yeon to meet her in a small conference room on the 38th floor, told her she needed help organizing files for an upcoming meeting. Ji-yeon agreed cheerfully. Of course she did. Kemi was already seated when Ji-yeon walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. 3 sugars in Kemi's, because she knew. Because she had learned every detail of Kemi's life and weaponized every single one. "I got you extra sugar today," Ji-yeon said, setting the cup down. "You've been stressed." "Sit down, Ji-yeon." Something in Kemi's voice made Ji-yeon pause. Just for a half second, just a flicker of something behind her eyes, but she sat. Kemi placed a printed screenshot on the table. The convenience store footage. Ji-yeon buying the burner phone. Ji-yeon's face went white. "Tell me why," Kemi said. "Kemi, I can explain." "I didn't ask for an explanation. I asked for why." "There's a difference." Ji-yeon's hands were shaking. The mask was cracking, and underneath it was not the monster Kemi had expected. Underneath it was a woman who was terrified. "They have my brother," Ji-yeon whispered. The room went still. "What?" Cho Sung-min. "He has my brother. My younger brother, Min-ho. He got into debt, gambling debt, the kind you don't come back from. Sung-min bought his debt and told me if I didn't cooperate, Min-ho would disappear. Not metaphorically. Actually disappear." Tears were streaming down Ji-yeon's face now, and they weren't practiced, they weren't performed. They were real, messy, desperate. "I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to hurt you. You're the only real friend I've had in years. But they have my brother, Kemi. He's 22. He's stupid and reckless and I love him and they will kill him." Kemi sat with this. She sat with the rage and the hurt and the understanding, because she had a younger sister in Lagos, and if someone had held her sister's life over her head, if someone had said, betray your friend or watch your sister die, she didn't know what she would have done. She wanted to say she would have chosen differently. She wasn't sure that was true. Does Jae-sun know about your brother? No. I couldn't tell anyone. They said if I talked, Minho was dead. What's phase 3? Ji-yeon's face crumbled. They want to take you. Friday. During your lunch break. A car will be waiting outside the cafe you go to. They want to use you as leverage to force Jae-sun to hand over control of the shipping division. And if he doesn't? Ji-yeon couldn't answer. She didn't need to. Kemi stood. She walked to the door. She paused with her hand on the handle. Your brother will be safe. I'm going to make sure of it. How? Because I'm going to tell Jae-sun everything. And whatever he is, whatever world he operates in, he protects the people I ask him to protect. That's the one thing I know for certain. She left the room. Behind the cameras on the 39th floor, Jae-sun sat in silence. He had heard everything. And the look on his face was not anger, not calculation, not the cold strategic mask the world knew. It was love. Terrible, overwhelming, irreversible love for a woman who had just shown mercy to the person who betrayed her and demanded protection for a stranger in the same breath. He picked up his phone and called Dae-ho. Find Min-ho. Moon Ji-yeon's brother. He's being held by Cho Sung-min, find him tonight. And Sung-min? Jae-sun's voice went flat. Bring him to me. Dae-ho found Min-ho in a locked room above a gambling parlor in Incheon at 2 in the morning. The boy was thin, scared, bruised, but alive. Dae-ho brought him out wrapped in a jacket and drove him to a safe house where Ji-yeon was waiting. She collapsed when she saw him. She held her little brother on the floor of that safe house and sobbed, and Min-ho, who was young and stupid and in over his head, held her back and said, I'm sorry, Nuna. I'm so sorry. Cho Sung-min was found 4 hours later in a warehouse in Yongsan. He was not treated gently. Jae-sun did not go himself. He didn't need to. The men he sent conveyed his message with perfect clarity. Anyone who touched Kemi, threatened Kemi, or even spoke Kemi's name without her permission would learn exactly why Park Jae-sun's name made people afraid. Sung-min talked. He gave up everything. Names, dates, accounts, communication channels. He gave up Tae-young's entire operation, every thread of the web the old man had been spinning for 3 months. And then Jae-sun did something unexpected. He let Sung-min go. Not out of mercy. Out of strategy. Because a broken man running back to his master with nothing to offer is more destructive than a dead man. Sung-min would return to Tae-young empty-handed, exposed, useless. And Tae-young would know that his entire network had been compromised. The old man's response came not with subtlety this time, but with fire. On a Thursday night at 11:45, Kemi's apartment building caught fire. Not the whole building. Just her floor. Just her unit and the 2 units beside it, enough to look like an accident, enough to leave doubt, but Kemi knew. She knew because she wasn't home. She was at Jae-sun's penthouse because he had asked her to stay that night, and she had said yes, and it was the first time she had stayed the whole night, and they had fallen asleep on his couch watching a terrible action movie and she had woken up with her head on his chest and his arm around her and the television still playing. She found out about the fire from Dae-ho's phone call. Jae-sun answered, listened for 4 seconds, and his arm around her tightened. What? She said, reading his face. Your apartment. There was a fire. She sat up. Tekbaki. That was her first word. Not her belongings, not her documents, not the money she had hidden in a shoebox under her bed. The cat. Dae-ho, the cat, Jae-sun said into the phone. A pause. Then Dae-ho's voice, the neighbor 2 floors down, grabbed him. He's fine. Angry, but fine. Kemi exhaled, and then the reality hit. Everything she owned was in that apartment. Every photo, every letter from her sister, Every small thing she had accumulated in 9 years of building a life in a country that had never fully embraced her. She didn't cry this time. She was past crying. She sat on the edge of Jae-sun's couch in his shirt and looked at the Seoul skyline through his floor-to-ceiling windows and felt something shift inside her, a final wall coming down, the last resistance crumbling. "I'm not going back," she said. "To the apartment? To pretending this isn't my life now. To acting like I'm separate from your world. They burned my home, Jae-sun. There is no separate anymore." He sat beside her. He didn't speak. He waited. "I'm not going to run. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to be the thing they use against you. I'm going to stand next to you, and they're going to have to deal with that. That's dangerous. Everything about loving you is dangerous. I knew that when I kissed you in a parking garage. I knew it when I wore that green dress. I knew it when I used your car as a mirror and the universe decided to rearrange my entire life." He took her hand. He pressed it to his lips. "Move in with me," he said. "Not in 6 months. Now." She looked at him. "What about Tekbaki? He can have his own room. You're giving my cat a room in your penthouse." "Our penthouse." Something warm and terrifying bloomed in her chest. "Okay," she said. "Okay? Okay. But I'm decorating. I wouldn't expect anything less." She kissed him, and he pulled her into his lap, and his hands slid under the shirt she was wearing, his shirt, and her skin was warm and his touch was careful and desperate at the same time, and she whispered, "Are you sure about this? All of this? Me?" He pulled back just enough to look at her face, and his eyes were so open, so completely unguarded, that she felt like she was seeing the real him for the first time, the boy underneath the boss, the heart underneath the armor. "I have never been more sure of anything," he said. "You declared war for me. I'd do it again. You gave my cat a room. He deserves it." She laughed against his mouth, and he swallowed the sound, and the kiss deepened until there was no space between them, until the skyline blurred and the world outside ceased to exist, and it was just them, just two people who had found each other against impossible odds and refused, absolutely refused, to let go. Taehyung's final move came exactly 1 week later. But it didn't come as an attack. It came as an invitation. A letter arrived at Haejin Tower, hand-delivered by a courier in a black suit. It was addressed to Kemi. Not to Jae-sun. To Kemi. Shin intercepted it, because Shin intercepted everything, and brought it to Jae-sun's office where Kemi was reviewing contracts. "It's from Yoon Tae-young," Shin said, his face carefully neutral. Kemi took the letter. Jae-sun watched her open it. His body was coiled like a spring. The letter was handwritten. Beautiful calligraphy, the kind that takes years to master. It read, "Ms. Adeyemi. I have spent 3 months trying to remove you from a world you don't belong in. I have failed. You are more resilient than I anticipated, and I am old enough to recognize when a battle is lost. I am not writing to threaten you. I am writing to warn you. There are forces moving against Park Jae-sun that have nothing to do with me, forces older and more powerful than our families combined. He has made enemies he doesn't know about yet. And when they come, and they will come, they will use you. Not as leverage. As a weapon. You are his greatest strength and his most dangerous vulnerability, and the people who are coming understand that better than he does. I tell you this not out of kindness, but out of respect. You have earned that much. Yoon Tae-young." Kemi read it twice. Then she handed it to Jae-sun. He read it. His jaw tightened. His eyes darkened. "Do you believe him?" she asked. "Tae-young doesn't warn people. He destroys them or he ignores them. The fact that he wrote this means he's genuinely afraid of whoever is coming. Who could be worse than him?" Jae-sun didn't answer. But Shin, standing by the door, did. "The chairman," Shin said quietly. Jae-sun's head snapped toward him. "Don't. She deserves to know, sir." Know what? Kemi asked, looking between them. Silence. The kind that fills a room like smoke. Jae-sun. Know what? He closed his eyes. When he opened them, the vulnerability she had seen that night in his penthouse was gone. In its place was the man the world knew, the Ghost King, the untouchable CEO, the man who had built an empire on secrets and shadows. My father didn't just die, he said. He was killed. And the man who ordered it, the man who controls everything above the families, above the alliances, above all of it, is someone I've been hunting for 10 years. Who is he? They call him the chairman. No real name. No face. He operates from outside Korea, pulls strings from a distance. Every major family in Seoul answers to him, whether they know it or not. Including, at one point, mine. And he's coming? If Tae-young is warning you, then yes. He's already here. Kemi looked at the letter in Jae-sun's hands, at the elegant handwriting of a man who had tried to destroy her and was now, impossibly, trying to save her. She looked at Jae-sun, at the weight on his shoulders, at the war in his eyes. She took the letter back. She folded it carefully. She placed it in her pocket. Then we get ready, she said. Kemi, this is different. This isn't Tae-young. This isn't politics. This is our life. Mine and yours. And I am done letting other people decide how it goes. She took his face in her hands, the way he had taken hers that night on the street after the attack, and she looked into his eyes with a ferocity that made his breath catch. I am from Lagos. I survived moving to a country where nobody looked like me at 17. I survived 3 jobs and no sleep and a landlord who wanted to throw me out. I survived your world, Jae-sun. I survived the notes and the photos and the kidnapping attempt and the fire. I survived your fiancée and her father and a friend who sold my secrets. Whatever is coming, it's going to have to survive me. He looked at her, this woman who had walked into his life through a car window, and he felt something he had never felt in all his years of running an empire. He felt safe. Together, he said. Together. Outside the window, Seoul stretched in every direction, vast and glittering and full of shadows. Somewhere in those shadows, a man known only as the chairman was watching. He had photographs. He had plans. He had resources that dwarfed everything the families of Seoul controlled combined. And he had already made his first move. A move so quiet, so invisible, that even Kwon Hyuk's network hadn't detected it. A move that was sitting in Haejin Tower right now, disguised as a new hire in the legal department, a young man with perfect credentials and a forgettable face and a mission that would bring Park Jae-sun's entire world crashing down. But that is a story for another day. If this story wrecked you in the best way possible, you need to subscribe right now. Part 3 is coming, and the chairman is not like any villain you've seen in this story before. He's worse. He's patient. And he already knows about Kemi. Hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, like this video, and drop a comment telling me, are you ready for part 3? Share this with someone who needs this story in their life. Until next time.